my friend, and welcome to the Mentor Mom YouTube channel. I'm Jill, and I'm the Mentor Mom. Today, we are going to be continuing our discussion on language development. However, we're going to be talking about play. It's a really important part of getting our kids communicating. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why play is so important for language, as well as helping you to understand some of the different play developmental levels that occur for kids as they learn and grow. Good information to know. I get a lot of questions about it from parents. So let's get to it. All right, so let's start with a little bit of a conversation about why play is important to language development. So if we think about learning words, right? Words represent objects and things and actions. So this is how kids start to learn about this kind of symbolization, is through play. So that's why it's really important that our kids develop their play skills, particularly moving towards their ability to have objects represent other things in play, like they're using the remote as a telephone. When we get to that point, then we're probably getting closer to them being able to use and understand that words symbolize these objects. So let's get started by talking real briefly about some of the different developmental stages of play. I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself. First, I want to talk about why purposeful play is important and what purposeful play is. It's actually something we talk a lot about in the early intervention world. Purposeful play is when we're actually using cars to be cars. We're stacking blocks because that's what we do with blocks. We're playing with food, with play foods appropriately, and using toys basically in the fashion that they were designed for. Not to say that kids won't have moments where they do odd things with some of the different toys, which is fine. It's just we're looking to see that they're using purposeful play the majority of the time. Okay, so why is purposeful play important? Well, purposeful play allows kids to make meanings out of seemingly everyday experiences. So it's engaging and intentional. It allows them to gather and process new information. It's critical for developing imagination, which helps with reading, language, math, and social skills, science skills down the road. And it increases their attention span, which is a really important part. If you think about like our circles of communication and how we talked about building on that engagement, more and more attention. The more attention we can get from our toddlers, the more learning opportunities we have. They also get to learn about turn taking during the play, purposeful play, and it helps them with problem solving, as well as I said earlier, increasing engagement. So one really important aspect of play is joint attention. We focus on that a lot when we're working with families in the home. So joint attention is where we are sharing a common focus on something with somebody else. So for example, we're playing with a farm set with a toddler. We're both focused on this farm set. Joint attention is demonstrated by them maybe picking up a toy and showing it to us, saying, hey, look at this cow. That demonstrates that we are engaged in this play activity together and are both focused on the same thing. It's a really important part of learning. If you think about how that translates later on down the road into activities in a classroom, right? The teacher's up teaching, we're all participating, we're looking, we're engaged, we're raising our hands. So joint attention is a really important skill that we want to work towards with our toddlers, and that easiest place to do that usually is during play. There are 4 types of play that kids will progress through. So the first type is exploratory play, and that's usually what we see with infants. The second type is relational play, and we usually see that around 10 to 18 months, followed by functional play from about 12 months to 18 months, and then finally symbolic play or pretend play, and that's around 18 to 30 months. So let's take a look at each one of those types of play. Exploratory play is considered the first level that a child uses for their play skills. So generally speaking, play skills at this stage are used by the child to explore toys and objects using their senses, touch and taste. This is where babies are hanging on to maybe a kind of a crumpled up book and shaking it or shaking the rattle, or when they find their foot, right? This demonstrates exploratory play. They're using their hands and their senses to touch and feel, and their mouth a lot of times to experience different things. That's exploratory play. Next is relational play, and that's when a child uses two or more items to interact together, like using a bowl and a spoon to pretend to eat, or taking two cups and stacking them on top of each other, or taking two blocks and matching them. The next type of play is functional play, and that too involves the same kinds of skills as relational play. However, it really incorporates more awareness of their surroundings, allowing them to watch and imitate others. So these two types of play oftentimes will overlap. An example of these two types could be you picking up a brush and brushing your hair, and your child picks up a brush and brushes their hair. Or you pick up a spoon to feed the baby and they pick up a spoon to feed the baby. So that's an example of relational and functional play. The final type of play is symbolic play. And this tends to be the biggest stepping stone into more advanced interactions with others. It's also referred to as pretend play. As I mentioned earlier, this could be a child picking up a remote and using it as a telephone, or pretending to eat pretend play foods. Pretend play is actually highly correlated with creativity and intelligence. And there are a number of things that pretend play helps to create and build a foundation for, including language. Let's talk about those for a second. Pretend play helps with a number of different things, including imaginative thinking and exploration, abstract thinking, problem solving, life skills, leadership skills, communication development, social skills development, understanding of safety, and self-confidence and self-esteem. Getting to the point where our children are really engaging in pretend play opens up tons of opportunity for us to work on language, including the comprehension, engagement, turn taking, labeling, following directions, so many things that we can work on. One of my favorite things, and I've mentioned it in previous videos when talking about toys, is pretend play kitchens and pretend play foods. One of the best ways to work on understanding and use of language. So pretend play is a really, really language-rich type of play that you can do with your child. So there you have it, an overview of the types of play that we see from young children. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the different stages of social play. I get a lot of questions about this from parents, including, why doesn't my child play with other children? So we're going to talk about next week more of the social stages of play. So I hope you'll come back and join me. All right, you guys, if you're enjoying this information and finding it useful and helpful, please make sure that you subscribe and like the video. If you have suggestions for future videos or a question that you would like me to answer related to your toddler and their development or their language, please reach out to me. My contact information is down in my description below. So until next time, you guys, have a great week, and I'll see you next time.